Have you ever looked at an old chair or a broken dresser and thought it was nothing more than junk? What if I told you those forgotten pieces could transform your garden into something that looks like it came straight out of a fairy tale? In this video, we'll explore recycled furniture turned into magical garden borders, whimsical fences, and enchanting herb walls. Welcome to Backyard Fortune, where we share creative DIY ideas to help you see beauty in the things you already have. This video includes timestamps so you can jump to the projects that inspire you most. If you have questions, feel free to comment below. I always love hearing from you. And if you enjoy this content, try these projects at home in your own unique way. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story and a real family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you hit that button, you're not just helping a creator grow. You're helping a dream stay alive. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. One bed frame blossom garden border. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through a garden where even forgotten furniture has been given a second life. At first glance, you see a line of weathered bed frames, painted in soft pastels, sage green, cream, lavender, now standing proudly as garden borders. Their cracks and faded paint aren't flaws, but gentle reminders of the stories they once carried. Behind them, waves of lavender sway in the breeze, marigolds burn with fiery orange, and daisies sparkle in the sunlight. Butterflies drift lazily, settling on blossoms as though the entire scene were part of a countryside fairy tale. Step further and the picture changes. An old vegetable patch has been given new definition with whitewashed bed frames, carefully placed to form raised beds. Tomatoes climb toward the sun, kale and herbs spill outward, and gravel paths wind between them. The golden glow of evening makes the pastel-painted wood shine softly, while sunflowers stand tall like guardians of this whimsical sanctuary. It's a practical idea, yet full of charm, proof that with a little imagination, structure and beauty can live side by side. In another corner, colors brighten again. Bed frames painted in dusty rose, mint green, and sky blue shape the edges of a flower garden alive with zinnias, sunflowers, and rosemary. Bees hum gently over the blooms, their wings catching the light, while the scent of herbs lingers in the air. It feels less like decoration and more like stumbling upon a secret village where plants and people live in harmony. What makes this transformation so inspiring is its simplicity. Instead of letting old furniture gather dust, you can turn it into something that both beautifies and supports your garden. Bed frames are sturdy, often already shaped with decorative panels, and easy to adapt. A bit of sanding, some weatherproof paint, and thoughtful placement are often all you need. Suddenly, what was once destined for disposal becomes a piece of living art that frames vegetables, herbs, or flowers. And here lies the quiet lesson of this idea. Gardens don't demand perfection or expensive materials. They flourish when we see potential in the overlooked, when we allow time-worn objects to hold new life. So next time you come across an old bed frame, don't toss it away. Picture instead the rows of blooms and greenery it could cradle, the butterflies it might attract, the quiet joy it could bring. In your hands, it might become the border of a fairy tale garden you never knew was waiting to be made. Two, Wardrobe Wonder Pergola. Imagine stepping into a garden where the air feels softer, as if it were holding a secret just for you. At the center of this little paradise stands a pergola, but not the kind bought from a store. Instead, it is built from reclaimed wardrobe doors, each one carrying stories of the past, painted in soft sage, ivory, or left in warm wood tones. Wisteria drapes itself gracefully across the beams, and as evening falls, string lights begin to glow, casting a gentle shimmer over a rustic bench dressed with floral cushions. Here, the ordinary act of sitting down becomes an invitation to pause, to breathe, and to remember that beauty often hides in the overlooked. In another corner, the mood shifts. Upcycled wardrobe panels painted in faded teal and cream create a shelter that feels like a hidden retreat. A hammock swings lightly in the breeze, framed by baskets overflowing with petunias and ivy, while grapevines curl along the beams overhead. Terracotta pots of basil, rosemary, and mint breathe fragrance into the air. The golden light of late afternoon filters through the leaves, turning this humble construction into a living canvas of scent, texture, and calm. It reminds us that DIY isn't about complexity, it's about imagination, and the joy of crafting a space that feels like it belongs only to you. Elsewhere, another pergola sings in softer, sweeter tones. Its beams are painted in pastels and dressed in climbing roses and jasmine. A small bistro table sits beneath, with mismatched chairs, a teapot, and fresh herbs waiting for company. Lanterns hang above, glowing like old-world jewels, while butterflies flit in and out of the blossoms. It is whimsical, but not in a way that feels unreachable. With just a few reclaimed doors, a willingness to sand and paint, and a patient hand guiding climbing plants upward, anyone can shape a place that feels like a story come alive. What ties these pergolas together is not perfection, but possibility. Old wardrobe doors, often forgotten in attics or garages, are surprisingly sturdy and versatile. They can form walls, frames, or backdrops with little more than basic tools. Add a coat of paint that speaks to your own taste, muted pastels, rustic stains, or even bold colors, and suddenly you've created not just shade, but atmosphere. Let vines, roses, or wisteria take their time to climb, and your pergola will change with the seasons, always alive, always evolving. The magic is in seeing beyond what something was, and envisioning what it might become. A pergola made from reclaimed doors isn't simply furniture reborn. It's a sanctuary for laughter, quiet reflection, and moments you'll remember long after the flowers have faded. In that way, it isn't just DIY. It's a gentle form of storytelling, one that you can walk into, sit beneath, and live inside. Three, coffee table veggie planter. There's something quietly magical about giving an old piece of furniture a second chance beneath the open sky. A simple coffee table, once tucked away indoors, now stands proudly in the garden, transformed into a raised planter. Its legs have been shortened, its frame painted in soft moss green, and on top, dark soil bursts with life, lettuce spreading wide, basil breathing fragrance, and carrots peeking their orange tips through leafy fronds. At each corner, cherry tomatoes spill down like red jewels, catching the sunlight. Bees hum gently and butterflies flit from marigold to marigold nearby, as if they too approve of this new creation. Elsewhere, another table tells a different story. Its drawers, once used for trinkets, now cradle herbs instead. Rosemary, thyme, and oregano spill outward, filling the air with rich aromas. On the tabletop, spinach and kale grow in quiet abundance, joined by terracotta pots of greens that thrive under the warmth of the morning sun. The wood, whitewashed and weathered, carries a softness that feels perfectly at home beside lavender and daisies. This isn't just gardening, it's a living artwork, where every drawer and surface carries both function and charm. And then, in a whimsical corner of the garden, a vintage teal coffee table stands with pride, its paint chipped in places, yet beautiful in its imperfection. From its soil rise carrots, basil, and mint, while behind them sunflowers stretch toward the sky. At its base, a little garden gnome smiles mischievously, and butterflies weave in and out of the blooms. The whole scene feels as though it belongs in a fairy tale, where practicality meets playfulness in the most delightful way. The beauty of these coffee table planters is not just in how they look, but in how easy they are to create. Old tables are often sturdy, already built to hold weight, and need little more than waterproofing and paint before being filled with soil. Drawers offer natural planting pockets for herbs, while the tabletop makes a perfect bed for vegetables. With just a few hours of work, you can turn a discarded piece of furniture into a thriving, productive garden feature. It is proof that you don't need sprawling land or expensive equipment to grow your own food. What you need is imagination, a willingness to see possibility where others see waste, and a love for watching life spring from unexpected places. In the end, these planters do more than grow vegetables. They remind us that beauty often comes from giving old things a new purpose, and that even the humblest coffee table can become the heart of a living, breathing garden story. Nightstand bloom box. There is a certain poetry in seeing an old nightstand find new life beneath the open sky. Once a place for books and lamps, now it becomes a bloom box, cradling flowers as if it were made for them all along. A pastel blue drawer spills over with petunias, pansies, and trailing ivy, their colors dancing in the warm light of morning. Above, a simple clay pot of lavender releases fragrance into the breeze, while bees hover in lazy circles, painting the air with movement. The wooden fence behind it glows softly, and the whole scene feels like a gentle invitation to pause. Elsewhere in the garden, a weathered white nightstand stands among daisies and marigolds, its drawers alive with begonias and succulents. The peeling paint doesn't hide its beauty, it enhances it, adding character and warmth. At its side, a stone rabbit sits as though guarding the blooms, making the corner feel playful and alive. It is a reminder that charm often comes from imperfections, and that what is old can carry more joy than something new. And then there is the faded green nightstand, rustic and full of life. Its drawers spill with geraniums, ivy, and tiny violets, tumbling down in cascades of color. On its surface, a terracotta pot of rosemary adds fragrance to the air, its herbal notes mixing with the sweetness of climbing roses nearby. Cobblestone paths wind around it, butterflies drift in the golden light, and for a moment, it feels as if you have stepped into a dream where furniture and flowers live side by side. The beauty of this idea is its simplicity. Drawers are natural containers, already shaped to hold soil and roots. With a little lining to protect the wood, and a mix of trailing and upright plants, you can create a layered, textured garden piece that looks both whimsical and intentional. Herbs, flowers, even small vegetables can thrive in these tucked-away spaces. What makes the nightstand bloom box so special is not just how it looks, but how it transforms the way you see the everyday. Suddenly, a piece destined for storage or the landfill becomes the heart of a cottage garden. It is a quiet act of care, of giving old things purpose again, and of filling your space with beauty that feels personal and alive. Five, Chairback cottage fence. Along a winding path, where lavender brushes softly against your legs, an unusual fence begins to reveal itself. Not made from timber bought at a store, but from the backs of old chairs, each one different, each one carrying its own history. Some are painted in faded pastels, sage and rose and cream, their paint chipped in places, yet all the more beautiful for it. Behind them, hydrangeas swell with color, snapdragons rise proudly, and butterflies hover in the golden light of evening. The imperfections of the wood become part of the story, adding charm instead of taking it away. Further along, the scene grows even more enchanting. Carved details from vintage chairback stand side by side like a row of old friends, their shapes weathered by time. Beyond them, zinnias and daisies sway in the summer air, while marigolds bring their bursts of orange. Along the gravel path, terracotta pots of herbs release their fragrance with every step. Birds perch on the fence, chirping softly as if they, too, recognize the quiet magic of a garden that blends practicality with imagination. The whole setting feels alive, a storybook come to life. Elsewhere, bright tones add a touch of whimsy. Chairbacks painted in teal, mint, and pale yellow create a cheerful border for a thriving garden corner. Behind them, sunflowers stand tall, catching the last of the day's light, while tomato vines climb steadily upward. Bees buzz over rosemary bushes planted close by, their hum adding rhythm to the warmth of the evening. This fence may not be perfect, but that is precisely its strength. It tells of resourcefulness, creativity, and the joy of finding beauty in the unexpected. The magic of a chairback fence lies in its accessibility. Chairs that no longer serve their original purpose are often easy to find, whether in your attic, a thrift store, or a neighbor's garage. With a bit of sanding, a coat of paint, and a willingness to mix and match, you can create a border that feels personal and full of character. Add flowers and herbs nearby, and the entire fence transforms from a line of wood into a living, breathing frame for your garden. It is more than a fence, it is an act of storytelling. Each chairback carries memories of dinners shared, conversations held, and lives once lived indoors. Placed together in the garden, they don't just enclose space, they open up imagination. In their new form, they stand as guardians of blooms, companions to birds, and hosts to bees and butterflies. They prove that when you allow creativity to guide your hands, even the humblest objects can become part of a fairy tale. Serenity Garden Bench. Beneath the branches of an old apple tree, where dappled sunlight filters through ripening fruit, a bench sits quietly as though it has always belonged. Once the frame of a discarded sofa, it has been lovingly transformed into a rustic seat painted in soft white. Floral cushions soften its wooden lines, inviting anyone passing by to rest. Around it, ferns unfurl and scarlet geraniums blaze with color, while a lantern sways above, its warm glow turning twilight into something timeless. Butterflies drift lazily in the air, and the gravel path nearby curves gently, leading the eye deeper into the garden's embrace. A little further along, another nook tells a story of reinvention with its own character. Here, the solid base of a vintage sofa has been turned into a bench with a rich walnut finish, polished by hands that saw potential where others saw waste. Lavender and rosemary press close on either side, filling the air with fragrance that clings to the evening breeze. Ivy climbs a wooden trellis behind the seat, weaving shadows and light into a living backdrop. A striped cushion rests on the bench, simple yet striking, making the whole space feel like a page torn from a countryside fairy tale where scent, texture, and memory come together in harmony. And then, a corner bursts with joy and color. An old sofa's wooden frame reborn in pastel sage, its sturdy shape now softened by bright pillows in yellows, reds, and blues. Around it, daisies lean toward the sun, zinnias laugh in brilliant hues, and a pergola rises above, vines climbing eagerly as if to frame this place of rest. Birds pause on the beams, their songs weaving into the garden's quiet hum, while the late afternoon light wraps everything in warmth. It is not just a bench, it is a statement of what care, imagination, and a little paint can do, how something forgotten can once again become the heart of a garden, a space where people sit not only to rest, but to dream. Seven, Cabinet Charm Garden Border. In the soft light of morning, a garden border takes on a new life, one crafted not from store-bought timber, but from the fronts of old cabinets and drawers, each piece painted in muted tones of sage, rose, and yellow. Lavender spills outward in fragrant waves while cosmos sway gently in the breeze. The carvings in the wood, once overlooked, now tell their own quiet story, their weathered edges blending seamlessly with the flowers. It feels as though the garden itself has grown a frame, a border as much about memory as it is about design. Step a little further and the mood shifts to something more practical yet still whimsical. Here, a patch of kale, spinach, and cherry tomatoes thrives, embraced by a wall of whitewashed cabinet panels, their rustic texture glowing in the sun. Clay pots wait at the corner, a watering can leans as though ready for use, and the vegetables seem to glow with health. It's a reminder that repurposing isn't only about charm, it can also nurture abundance, turning what was once discarded into the very foundation of growth. Then, as if to prove that function can dance with beauty, another stretch of garden bursts into playful color. Cabinet trims with ornate details, painted in pastel lavender and mint, line the cobblestone path. Behind them, daisies and marigolds mingle with zinnias, while bees drift lazily from bloom to bloom, collecting nectar under the golden warmth of afternoon. Ivy climbs nearby, softening the edges of a cottage fence, making the whole border feel like it belongs to another time, a hidden storybook world where even old wood remembers how to shine. These cabinet borders show us something profound. Transformation is not about perfection, but about vision. Every chipped edge and faded panel becomes part of the tale, reminding us that gardens are not only places of growth, but also of reinvention. With imagination and care, yesterday's forgotten furniture becomes today's living masterpiece. Eight, Coastal Dresser Garden Nook. The charm of an old dresser, when placed in the garden, is that it instantly tells a story of transformation. Something once confined to bedrooms now becomes alive under open skies. In one corner, a distressed teal dresser breathes new life, its drawers spilling with succulents and trailing greenery that cascade like seaweed tumbling over rocks. Atop its wooden surface, rope-wrapped pots of lavender stand proud, joined by seashells that glisten in the sun, reminding us of coastal walks where the tide leaves its treasures behind. This mix of rustic furniture and seaside accents creates a nook that feels both nostalgic and refreshing, as though the garden itself has drawn inspiration from the shore. Further along, another dresser reveals a softer palette. Painted in washed aqua and cream, it carries the gentleness of a seaside cottage. Its drawers bloom with rosemary, ivy, and tiny white daisies that seem to float like foam along the sand. Driftwood, starfish, and a scattering of shells rest on the top, small details that whisper of waves and salt air. The sandy ground beneath and bamboo backdrop complete the illusion of a coastal escape, even if you're nestled miles away from the ocean. It's a reminder that design is not about replicating reality perfectly, but about evoking a feeling, a memory, a dream that settles comfortably in your backyard. And then there's the dresser painted in ocean blue, worn and weathered as though it's traveled with the tide. Open drawers cradle succulents and stringer pearls that fall like water droplets, while seashells and pebbles sit gently among the greenery. Around it, sea lavender sways in the breeze, catching the warm glow of evening sunlight. The entire piece transforms into something more than furniture. It becomes a treasure chest, a magical find from a long-forgotten shipwreck, now nestled in your garden. It's a poetic reminder of how upcycling allows us to blur the line between practicality and imagination, taking what's ordinary and turning it into a scene worth pausing for, worth remembering. Nine. Table leg storybook fence. Sometimes the most magical garden details come from the simplest of leftovers. Old table legs, once holding family meals or standing forgotten in attics, can be reborn as whimsical fence posts. With a touch of pastel paint, sage, rose, buttercream, or even teal, they suddenly become guardians of a storybook path. Picture them lined neatly along gravel, a rustic rope strung between, while butterflies drift lazily above daisies and lavender. What was once furniture now feels like a fairy tale gate into another world. But this idea isn't just about charm, it's practical too. In a vegetable patch, weathered table legs can be planted firmly in the soil, their driftwood-like tones blending beautifully with marigolds and ivy climbing upward. Tomatoes ripen in the sun, lettuce thrives in the shade, and birds perch lightly on the posts, turning a humble fence into a living part of the garden. Strong enough to frame the beds, yet delicate enough to look like they've always belonged there. And then there's the painter's dream, a border where table legs stand in playful colors, faded coral, pale yellow, ocean blue. Behind them, zinnias and snapdragons bloom, catching the golden evening light. The posts glow softly at sunset, like they're keeping secrets of the day, and as you walk past, it feels less like a DIY project and more like stepping into a European fairytale painting brought to life. The beauty of this idea is how easy it is to make your own. Collect mismatched table legs from old furniture or thrift shops. Paint them or leave them rustic, then fix them firmly into the soil. Tie them together with rope, twine, or even climbing plants. Suddenly, you don't just have a fence, you have a story woven into your garden, one that grows richer with each season. Ten. Chairback vertical herb wall. In a quiet corner of the garden, what once might have been forgotten chairs are reborn into something both whimsical and practical. Painted in soft pastels, lavender, sage, pale blue, and coral, they stand against a stone wall or a weathered fence, now serving as a canvas for flourishing herbs. Basil, mint, parsley, and thyme spill generously from terracotta pots, their fragrance carried gently on the summer breeze. It's a reminder that the simplest of objects, when given a second chance, can transform into living art. This vertical herb wall not only saves space but creates a natural tapestry of green and color that feels like stepping into a storybook garden. The weathered wood and chipped paint add layers of charm, each imperfection a trace of history now celebrated in a new form. Butterflies and bees drift in, drawn by the nectar of nearby flowers and the subtle aroma of herbs, completing the illusion that nature itself is in on the secret of this design. If you wish to bring this idea to life at home, the process is as approachable as it is rewarding. Salvage old chairs, ones that might no longer hold weight but still carry character. Secure the backs along a fence or wall, and fasten terracotta pots or small planters within the frames. Choose herbs that suit your kitchen or your climate. Oregano for its resilience, rosemary for its fragrance, chives for their delicate shoots. As the plants grow, the structure begins to blur into a woven harmony of wood, greenery, and blossoms, creating a garden that feels alive in every sense. The true beauty of this project lies not only in its practicality but in the way it changes how we see objects. A chair no longer serves to hold us, but instead to hold life itself. Each planter becomes a little vignette, a living window framed by wood, sunlight, and the hum of bees. In the early morning or golden evening light, this herb wall glows softly, as though the garden has leaned in to whisper, "Nothing is ever truly finished, everything can be renewed." And there you have it, old cabinets, dressers, table legs, and chairs, all transformed into living art for your garden. Simple, sustainable, and filled with charm. If today's ideas sparked your imagination, let me know in the comments, which design would you try first in your own backyard? Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves DIY, and subscribe for more enchanting garden transformations. Together, we can turn ordinary scraps into extraordinary beauty.